Hello, hello, all. Hi there, and happy Friday. Today is not Friday for me. I am recording this in advance because I am traveling this week. But I wanted to make sure that I got this information to you all because it is that critically important. And this is the secret sauce, in case anybody's wondering. When we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion and we talk about moving the needle quickly. At least I know I do. That is my personal pet peeve around this particular space. When we talk about the space of DE and I, we typically our minds, I know mine does, typically goes to training and sexual harassment training, unconscious bias training, inclusion training, all types of training, and lots of talking. And in my opinion, not a whole lot of doing. And so I like to quickly get to the doing in a matter of days and weeks. One of the action steps, very practical, actionable, doable steps that can be done, no talking, no training needed, that you can do quite literally tomorrow to move the needle when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion is sponsorship. My favorite topic. I love sponsorship. I love to be sponsored. I love to sponsor other people. Sponsorship is my favorite thing. Why? Because it quickly gets results in a matter of minutes, really, if you do it right. The key, though, when we talk about DE and I, because we all sponsor, everybody does it. I'll give you the definition in a second. Everybody does it. But the key is to do it for someone that doesn't look like you. Yeah, you got to stop sponsoring mini me's. Okay, so when I talk about sponsorship, what do I mean? I mean giving up your social or political capital that you have in your organization, in the community, at your nonprofit, wherever you're at, in the space that you're in, you got some capital. You have some, hey, go call XYZ to get something done. Or, hey, this person is knowledgeable and expert in this area. Or, hey, I know somebody who can help you get connected. You are good at something and you are known for something. And whatever that thing is, you help people in it. Okay. Whether you're paid or not, you help them. And I'm just asking you to just help people that look different than you, period, point blank. So when I say help, what do I mean? I mean, when you're talking about your social and political capital, when you're sponsoring somebody, you're trading, you're putting their name with theirs. You're giving up something, you're trading your capital to help them in their career progression. So specifically, that means hiring them or recommending them to be hired by someone. That means promoting them or recommending them to be promoted. That means giving them a bonus or recommending that they receive a bonus. And that means offering a stretch opportunity or recommending that they engage in a stretch opportunity. So let's unpack those. Hiring. 2 in a pool rule, people. 2 in a pool rule. Harvard Business Review has done a study that essentially says if you have more than one minority candidate, meaning underrepresented person in your population, meaning female, okay, if you have you've put out a position that you want opened in your organization for, let's say, I don't know, VP of finance, okay, and you have 150 respondents, probably more than that, especially if you put it out on LinkedIn. Good Lord, you could probably have 1,000. But at some point, you got to narrow that funnel down. And if you get all the way down to, let's say, the top 5 candidates for that VP of finance position, as long as 2 of those final candidates are female, then you have a very, very large chance, 50% or more, that person that you're going to offer the position to is going to indeed be female. Okay. But the key is that you have to have 2. Most organizations are making the mistake by just trying to have one, right? As long as if we have a diverse candidate pool, we get as many people as we can from all ethnicities, races, cultures, genders, and we narrow down that funnel to the top 3 to 5 candidates that we want to really, bring in and have them do a presentation or, meet the head honcho or whatever the case may be, whatever your hiring process is. When they get down that final step right before you make the offer, usually there's just one diverse person. There needs to be at least 2. Okay. Same goes for people that are from an underrepresented ethnicity or culture or race. So, for example, if you have 2 African Americans in that final candidate selection pool, guess what? You have probably about 100% chance of the person who gets the opportunity is going to be one of those African American individuals. So the rule is 2 in a pool rule. So how do we get that 2 in a pool? Well, you have to have sponsorship along the way. You have to have someone who is keeping a key eye on that pruning process that's along the way when it comes to narrowing down the funnel of individuals that are going to go for that final candidate selection. You have to make sure that the people along the way are checking their unconscious bias, that there is a very clear written definition around leader, around the description and characteristics of leader, around what does leadership look like in all its various forms, to make sure that people aren't ruling individuals out for characteristics that aren't even listed on the job description. All of those things happen. So your job as sponsor is to at least make that initial recommendation, at least get them in the pool. Okay. Now the bonus track is that you have someone that again has that keen eye and that's, gone through my, recruiting without bias training and they know how to really again have that keen eye for the pruning and filtering process. But your job as sponsor is to at least do that first thing, which is to recommend them, put their name in the hat, get their resume to the hiring manager, get their resume to the job recruiter, take that extra step. Okay. Don't just say, which is kind of a pet peeve of mine, when someone when I say, hey, I'm interested in XY position at your organization. Do you happen to know the hiring manager? Oh, yeah. Ken. Yeah, it's Ken. Yeah. Ken's got that role. Oh, okay, great. You mind giving me an introduction to Ken? Oh, no, just send him an email. It's fine. No, take the extra step, do the extra initiative to do a warm introduction and introduce that person to Ken, and then they can take it from there. But that's key, right? Making sure that you're going that extra mile and stepping in and getting them to the hiring manager and or recruiter. Okay, next, recommending them to even be hired. So you're internal to the organization and you're looking out amongst your diverse network, professional network, and you're saying, I bet Kelly would be great for that role. And then you reach out and say, Kelly, we have an open position. I want you to apply for it. Okay. That is active sponsorship. You are actively seeking her out and saying, hey, you should apply for this. This would be great for you. Right. Now, totally Kelly's decision if she does it or not, but you've done your part in terms of being an active sponsor. And if you happen to be a heterosexual white man, age 60, and you're reaching out to Kelly and she is Latina, that is immigrated from Mexico 10 years ago, and somehow she got into your professional network and you guys have had a discussion around lived experience, and you find out that she's got like 3, 4, 5 different degrees of separation from you. All the better, because that means that you're being intentional about reaching across identity lines and recommending her, right? Or getting her that exposure. Okay, another thing we talk about, promotion. So if you happen to be in a seat of position to where you have direct reports underneath you, and you're grooming and mentoring them, and then a position comes open, somebody leaves or moves on, and now you have the opportunity to maybe promote someone that is reporting to you into a position that's maybe a higher grade than them. It's going to get them more money, more authority and accountability, more leadership. Great, right? You have to be, again, same thing applies. You have to be intentional about not just going after the person that looks like you, or they went to your alma mater, or you're closer to them because you play golf with their father on the weekends, right? All these informal ways in which we get closer to people at work. It's just, you have to recognize that it's just harder to do when you have different degrees of separation. Again, gender, race, ethnicity, culture, country of origin. All of these are just layers that can create barriers to getting closer to those that are in higher positions, to where you have some authority and accountability and opportunity to make people's careers or not. And so let's say that you're not in that position, but you do have an opportunity where you hear about an opening somewhere, and it would be a promotion for someone either on your team or someone that you know. Again, same rules apply. Make sure that you literally walk them over into the candidate pool. Make sure that you know that, yes, I am recommending this person. And by doing so, you're essentially vouching for their work, right? So I don't want to underestimate this and think that sponsoring is so easy. It really is risky business. You are putting your name, and you are essentially vouching for that person. You're not promising that they're going to work out, but you're saying, I have something in this person that I know, that I identify with, and I am assessing either their ability or their potential ability to be good in this role. And if that person, quite frankly, fails or doesn't live up to the position, and they're not successful in it, oh my goodness, that may make you feel bad. That may make you be a little bit more cautious next time about who you recommend, because that one particular person didn't work out. But don't stop. Keep going. That's one of the mistakes that's made along the way, is that you're thinking, hey, I tried. I recommended Kelly. She didn't work out, man. I'm never going to do that again. That's detrimental to all the good work that you've done. So again, we realize that it's risky, and it's stepping out on a limb whenever you recommend someone, because you don't know for sure how it's going to turn out. But again, it's critical that you're intentional about doing that across identity lines. Lastly, I talked about bonus and stretch opportunities. So bonus is pretty simple. That's just, we got so many dollars to shell out, and I can only pick 3 of the top, potential candidates that's done the best work. And that's as much money as I have to give to my team to bonus this year. Again, you have to be very, very careful about the fact, your lens about how you are quantifying leadership. Are you only looking at just how much was made in terms of revenue, or how many projects were delivered? Or are you also looking at the quality of projects that were delivered, right? So for example, you are a project management office director, and you have an individual who is just, by all intents and purposes, kicking butt and taking names, and they're just cranking out project after project and getting it delivered. But are they leaving a bunch of dead bodies behind, right? You have to do the extra step, the due diligence, to find that out, to see if the way in which that they're delivering, the quality of their product in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it, absolutely comes into play. The bonus might actually need to go to Stacy, who delivered not as many projects in terms of the number, but the way in which she delivered them didn't leave any dead bodies behind, and was with the utmost quality. And she has tens across the board in terms of her customers and stakeholders. Support and love for the work that she does and how she does it. Stacy might deserve that bonus versus someone else, again, who at surface level you would think, oh look, they delivered 10 projects versus Stacy's 6. But again, the quality in which the work was done was superior. Therefore, in my opinion, Stacy would be the one deserving of the extra money. So that's an example around how you give bonuses out. And then finally, stretch opportunities. This is one that most folks don't think about, but when you are trying to develop your people, placing them temporarily into a position that's just a little bit above their head, that's adding on responsibility and authority and accountability, and see how they handle it, right? So for example, let's say you work at a bank and there's a bank teller that is, again, kicking butt and taking names. Just customer service is always a 10. They're checking all the boxes. You're like, wow, this person I could really see them, training other bank tellers because they're so good. I would love to take what they do and replicate that across the branch. We'll go ahead and put them in that role. Why wait, right? Regardless of their tenure, regardless of their age, regardless of who they are. If they're knocking it out of the park and you want to replicate that, then go ahead and have them start training other folks. Just temporarily see how it goes, right? It doesn't have to be their job forever. It could just be a 3-month stint, right? Just for a quarter, just to see how they do in that role. And if they like it and if it's a good fit, all of that. It's a nice way to test out, to pilot, to give folks a taste of, a different opportunity, something that they would have never thought to do before. And nobody's married to it, right? It may not work out. You might find out, training is not their strong suit. They are really great at what they do, but okay, great. We won't do that again. But it is okay to experiment and to try people out in opportunities for a short period of time. I wish there were so many people managers that I had in my past that I wish they had a go or a quick run through, a quick pass at people management before they actually, hung up their shingle and decided to call themselves a people manager and do it for years and years and years, creating all kinds of toxicity for themselves and everybody involved, only to find out again years later, this wasn't a good fit. This isn't a good role for this person. Well, in the meantime, a bunch of dead bodies are in the wake, and they themselves have stressed themselves out in a role that was just never a good fit to begin with. So do yourself a favor, them and the organization, and just try it out. We call it stretch opportunities. Temporary assignments are a great way to reward someone, cultivate them. And the best group to do that with would be for women and people of color in your organization. Go ahead and give them a test run. And please, please, please set them up for success. Don't just throw them out there with no training and support, a guide or an advisor to help them, come alongside and really do the due diligence to make sure that they have all of the necessary resources at their disposal to help it be as successful as possible. Again, with the notion that we're going to check back here in about 3 months or, whatever the stint might be, and decide on both sides, was this a good match or not? With no knock to their performance if it wasn't. Because again, we knew going into it, it was stretch. It might be something that we revisit in a couple of years after we do more training or acquire some more experience. or we can just knock that one off the bar completely and say, yep, this is just not a role that is a good fit for me, and we'll just go look somewhere else. So making sure that it's very clear on both sides that this is not going to negatively impact this person's performance one way or the other, should it not work out. That should just be, that's the nature of the stretch opportunity or the short stint assignment. So with that, all of those, I've just literally downloaded about a good 18 minutes now of specific, actionable, practical steps that you can take to sponsor someone. Again, that does not look like you. That is not a mini-me. We do all of these things that I just described all the time, but I want you to add the lens on, add the layer on, but I'm going to be intentional about doing it for someone that does not look like me in terms of the different layers of identity. Okay, so with that, if you were just now popping into me and hearing all of that, and you're thinking like, yeah, but I got questions. Like, what if I put my foot in my mouth? How do I do this? What if I don't have a diverse pool of people that I can pull from in my personal or professional network? All of those we've addressed in the past. So one, maybe go back and look at some history in terms of videos. But reach out to info@angelspeaking.com, and we would be happy to talk with you and your organization about how you acquire some of these skills and practice being a more inclusive work environment, again, for you and your employees, because we truly believe that your people are your biggest asset. And you want to get the ROI on those folks that you invested in, that you went through the hiring pipeline with, you got them in the door, you trained and onboarded them. Now they're here. Don't stop the investment. Don't stop providing support for your people managers, because that's the sweet spot of where the inclusion maturity is going to happen or not. It's right at that manager level and direct employee, regardless of where you're at, whether you're VP talking to senior director, or whether you are first line manager talking to someone that works the floor in a supply shop. Regardless of the hierarchy, if you are a person that has responsibility for someone else's performance appraisal, goal setting, giving them feedback, that's the relationship that I truly believe is going to allow inclusion trainings and workshops and all the other fun stuff that we do. That's where it lives and dies on the vine. Okay. So don't let that happen. Contact info@angelspeaking.com to help. And with that, thank you all. Have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye now. And by the way, don't forget, next Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, same time, same bat channel, where we will